Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Left 4 Dead. It's been a while, so I think we were completely done with the campaign Blood Harvest. Yeah, that's where we ended. So today we start the final one, the Sacrifice, which in the name it pretty much spoils that somebody's going to have to sacrifice themselves. Although in single player it doesn't have to be me. Crash Course and the Sacrifice were the two campaigns that were added later, so there really is only 4 campaigns that came with this game originally. There are add-on campaigns, one assumes. Let's see, who do we think we should sacrifice? I think Bill probably makes the most sense, he being the oldest. Otherwise you go the other way and you go Zoe is the youngest. Francis and Lewis, nobody's really given a lot of characterization, but we played as Bill last time, so let's go with Francis. Let's hop in here. So yeah, it may take me a while to warm up since it's been a couple days since I last played. So did we leave on a train at the end of Blood Harvest? No, we didn't.
Sandy beaches, coconuts, sand, beaches, sand.
This is about the only point you could write.
Wait a minute, I hate islands.
This would be the only point I guess you could write dialogue for each of the characters, since you know at the beginning of each section there can be conversation. So, yeah, there could have easily been a story or cutscene explaining that the military saved you after Blood Harvest, and the military is bringing you in on this train to clear the way because you happen to be one of the immune people. See, it almost seems like you could jump in here and there's absolutely nothing there to see. Can't open this. What does this say? Let's see. Armed Forces Reserve Center. Army Reserve. So yeah, you have this little text here. Which, that's weird that you'd even bother to make 3D models and text when that's something that's not going to be used anywhere else. We have just fog everywhere. And honestly, it feels like we are going to end up leaving an area fairly quickly in this case. Here we have a gas pump, which, I mean, I have to try this, don't I? No explosion. I also didn't get a tutorial this time to say crouch down to target anything. It's interesting to start a level with just things out in the open instead of starting in a fairly safe room feeling location. I'm not sure that the text has been blue above people's heads either. I wonder if they made some slight tweaks because they had a little bit more time. Like boat models. There we go. There's a crouching hint, which is just like the first hint you get, it seems, always, unless you just crouch a lot. Whereas I guess I've run and jumped and proven everything else to be understood. Can't go this way. You could almost make the argument that it doesn't matter that there are boat models and boat trailer models now, because this probably was made later, and this was probably 3D models that they wouldn't have ever even started working on until they knew that they were going to make a couple more campaigns. Although it might be the exact opposite. It might very well be that all the models we're seeing here were supposed to be in the main game, and that would possibly be the case also, that that these would have helped flesh out the designs of things. Here you have a crashed plane, so theoretically you could have also had this campaign start at the end of the Dead Air campaign. These do look like different car models than what we've been seeing, but who knows. Now, they talked about in the developer commentary how they had different skins that stretched around different car models. I feel like doing that would probably be as difficult as just making new custom car models or custom skins, because effectively you would have to say, well, the front corner of a car starts here, and then the skin stretches to this point, and then the front door starts there and stretches to that point and makes a full square. And yeah, there's a lot of programming issues with doing something like that. Whereas what you would probably do now is you would just have automated software like Unreal Engine, which I sing the praises of Unreal Engine way too much, but it is pretty much industry standard. You would just make a material, and that material would be metal, labeled as like metal, and everything that is part of that model would be that same material, and then you would apply a texture to that material, or a color to a material. Alright, now we're immediately to a second gun, but interestingly enough, the other players are not. And that definitely... well, that's a... these guys are deciding not to really attack me. It feels like I triggered something by going through this area. So I guess this was supposed to be environmental storytelling. Okay. So we've got now explosive barrels, which very late to the party for that. Here's another flat 2D piece of art. We haven't seen any of these art pieces really get reused, and that seems like a mistake. Like, it would have been very easy to sneak the art prints and just treat them like art prints into the hotel sections and into the office sections, or just have like an art shop in every single man, it's like the barrels have Molotovs in them, and they randomly eject a Molotov up with physics and back down. Wonder if there's a way we're gonna be able to get up there. I literally just spawned out of nowhere.
Reloading! This is why the harbor's closed.
Alright, so there's gun upgrade.
Weapons over here!
So let's make sure that they all upgrade their guns. So
Reloading!
the harbor's closed because the bridge is out. So was this just a room? Yes, it was. There's been a TV in every single scenario. Will that blow up? Nope. That certainly would be something that would stick out in my mind, is like if we're gonna have water heaters, let's have them blow up in a steamway. I guess that's a respawn closet. We're doing another very linear experience. Here's the reuse of the graffiti, which I think they probably got fairly good use out of that. And I imagine they got fairly good use out of rocks and trees. And so we're going to basically just be doing a city level once again here, at least at the beginning, at the start. And the only slight difference is there's going to be some bits of water. Because they're doing the fog thing, they are setting themselves up to have more of a visually fleshed out level. I'm noticing there are more varieties of models of things and a little bit more trees and a little bit more random buildings and greenery.
Bunch of guns over here.
There's only one gun there. That could be a mistake. There's like all kinds of people on the other side of this wall. And who's to say if I'm actually hitting them or not? Here we go. How about we...
Whose side are you on, kid?
I don't think I blew up anything there. But the zombies don't tend to make any noise anyway, so when they die, which they probably should make some kind of noise to confirm that you've killed them. And yeah, that's another example of the game got bored with us and threw some more zombies at us. I'm not sure. There's a TV in the middle of the room. Not sure if we're supposed to go up here or if we're supposed to go around or what. There is room for improvement where characters should not be screaming out when they find something until you hit the left stick click. Or until you look at it for a fairly long time. You can see over here, though, that this is basically nothing. There are no more buildings in that direction.
Reloading.
The fire, that doesn't look like a fire I started. So, I'm wondering if I cannot hit him. Let me just stand near in the middle of the fire, or as close to the fire as possible. This highlights an issue, certainly, that should have been existent throughout all the scenarios, is that barrel fires or just piles of dead zombies would have made sense as visually distinct elements. Also, they have a physics element to them also.
Bill's here. Bill's here.
Let's see.
Who else? We got weapons over here.
Alright. I said in the developer commentary the music is mostly non-existent. I will give them enough credit to say that when you are near a witch, that sound effect does trigger more music. It's weird here. It's weird to set up your yeah, I don't know what I meant to say there. That music does play, and that music is slightly different. So I will grant them that you get that little musical cue, and you get the musical cue of the game getting bored, which we just heard the game's bored with you sound effect. So
Weapons over here.
alright. Seriously?
Look out.
Alright.
Reloading. Bill's here. Ammo here.
Okay. I hear what sounds like a gargantuan just waiting to attack. Open this train door, be ready to fight the tank.
Grenade.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not go.
So you have to hold the button. We've only really had to do this once before with the generator. And if these guys are not sensitive specifically to the gunshot sound frequency, they probably need to explain away like why these guys would spawn in the massive horde like this via like maybe vibration. Maybe this guy, when he dies, hits the ground, and that ground vibration calls a lot of people, or he lets out a big growl.
Reloading.
Like, otherwise, a lot of these encounters just feel like they are happening because the AI director wants them to happen, as if it is there's not even a handle on this side of the door, as if you were gonna run through this. Now, what's interesting here is this scene is almost exactly the scene that is in the demo for the Steven Spielberg Super 8 movie that came with Portal, or Portal 2. So they've just reused that content. Also, this feels very Half-Life 2 It feels like more trains and more varieties of how these trains have been broken up and are all twisted up and is appreciated compared to previous scenarios where we really have just been seeing perfectly placed trains. Here we are. Wandering around actually what feels like a gameplay section, an actual puzzle. We can't climb that, even though that feels like that's totally something we would climb. Alright, so we come down this way. This way wouldn't have let us go anywhere else. So this is still a linear path. But boy, does that feel better figured out or better designed than what we have seen in the past, where everything is very square and right angled. And this is a lot of 3D models, a lot of textures compared to what we've been seeing. I don't know if it really says anything though to say that the final scenario that was added later to Left 4 Dead is slightly better than the original content. You'd kind of just expect that to be the case. You still have the problems of this being on the source engine, which is 13 years later at least not an engine worth developing on. It's almost like they pathologically did not want to have any explosive barrels, and they just finally gave in.
Stop squirming, I'm gonna heal you.
I'm almost out of bullets already. I'm playing this on easy.
Hey, thanks, man.
So we may very well find that this is a fairly difficult scenario also. And I doubt it's going to be called a sacrifice if you manage to just die.
Come to daddy, my sweet shotgun.
Let me. Thought someone was knocking on my door. So yeah, we probably should have been forced into swapping between people, swapping guns fairly frequently. I think that's something that Fear, if I'm recalling correctly, I could be wrong. I feel like Fear did that, where you ran out of bullets fairly quickly in one gun, and there was somewhat of a push to just try different gunplay styles and different types of guns. Even if it wasn't Fear that did that, certainly we know that there is a lot of games out there that do that. I would say Resident Evil 4 is probably not one of the ones that would fall in that category, because Resident Evil 4 had that limiting factor of space in its inventory, and as interesting as that shenanigans was of playing Tetris with your inventory, that really was a hindrance in your first playthrough of Resident Evil 4. By the time you're at the second playthrough of Resident Evil 4, at least halfway through your second playthrough of Resident Evil 4, you'll have at least one gun so upgraded it won't matter, however. Or you'll have infinite ammo. So you do get different audio prompts based on the character you're playing as. I threw all those just in random directions, and I'm gonna find out that we're actually only halfway through, halfway to the safe house. Which, it does that to us nearly every time, where it would have been real easy to simply have a number written next to it, where it says it draws a picture of a safe house, and then it says 1K, 1 kilometer, or
Reloading! Bunch of guns over here!
interesting that rolls, but it doesn't explode. You can't pick up these and throw them. I think I'm supposed to be going this way. Like, there wasn't another way around, was there?
Reloading!
Seems like you could almost reach this, but it's not gonna let you. Interesting. The only place they could even spawn the zombies was through the roofs. And that's a cool effect and all, but I would have liked to see it either a little bit more scripted or a little bit more unique or more often. I guess that wouldn't be unique, that would be the opposite of unique. Yeah, there was plenty of places where there were skyscrapers or skylights, not skyscrapers, that zombies could have jumped through. It could have been a very common occurrence for at least one zombie to jump through that those windows. It would give you a reason to go up. It occurred to me that if there were air vents in the roofs like this, just in most of the buildings that we've been in, and zombies would crawl through them and you could hear them skittering around, and then they would jump down through it, and then you would have a different normal zombie type enemy that is different in the way it attacks. It doesn't get to the quite crazy level of the splicers and BioShock crawling on the ceiling, although they kind of don't do that as much as you would think. And I guess we're working our way towards a boat. I think that's what we're trying to do. See, the problem with being able to walk through people when you're firing, at least, is that you can back right through them and accidentally hurt them. And that is weird. Like, let's just stand here, fire. Yeah, you walk either directly over the people when they're shooting, or you walk right through them. And I guess we could get on the rooftops here. And that's all that was. Was a way take the high ground.
Bill's here.
And the smoker almost grabbed me, and didn't even see it. Sorry, I'm just going quiet there. I'm just playing the game. There's very little to say here, even though I will fully admit that it feels like they have made some improvements. Let's go. Right, now you guys come out and help me. Seriously, they're gonna leave me to die. Helpful, guys, real helpful.
Hell yeah!
Like, so it seems like on single player you just cannot force that achievement. Meanwhile, there's tons of achievements you can't get in single player at all, and there's plenty of problems and plenty of gameplay you would just have to.
You're mad at me.
I really don't want to hear it.
Zoe, listen. The four of us are all that matters now.
Bill, I'm not ready to give up on everything yet.
What story is going on here? Like, you can't all of a sudden give me story to a game that has been just completely consistently not willing to give any story. Now, this is, why is Bill mad? Why is Zoe mad at Bill? Like, explain that. Give me more dialogue, or don't give me cryptic 2 lines of story.
No problemo, pal.
Sailboat ready to meet bridge. Here we have a Baphomet statue in a bikini. That's weird. Atlanta. Feels like we should just have a map that we could pull up to show all the different locations we've been in different scenarios. I suppose that level was fairly long compared to some of the other levels where they literally have been just 15 minutes or so in length. Still very linear. No split paths, no real different directions. Although I will say we have seen some places here where you can go left or right, split between these stacks of bricks, which I guess that's something. If that had been consistently the case where nearly every path had a car or a wall or something splitting it together, and there always was a left and right path, and people were always given the opportunity to split up in groups of 2, or maybe even split up into groups of 1, and there would be like 4 split paths. That would at least encourage the idea that you can go in different directions if you want to, which is not the idea that they want to encourage by any means. They want to have all the players heavily rewarded for being in the same place and covering each other's backs. But that's not a play style that's going to be familiar to a lot of players. And this is kind of the problem with any multiplayer game, is that there's always a percentage of lone wolves out there, and instead of just trying to have 100% negative reinforcement by punishing the lone wolves, you would be better suited giving an advantage to a lone wolf who can play well on their own. We've said for other reasons that this game should probably reward you in some way for running around and killing these straggling zombies. Can't really read that. But that is another 3D model that should have existed and been used a lot more. Like, we really didn't see any kinds of signage like that in any of the other scenarios. These guys feel a little bit more limber, managing to climb up and down these bricks. How many people can you save if they're all spit on? So yeah, it looks like we're leaving the brickyard area, and now we're going for more of a water tank slash maybe forest area. This feels different. I'll grant it that. This feels a little bit different than the forest area. We now have kind of a swamp section with zombies waiting in the water, which we haven't seen a lot of that. There was that slight low point in the sewer, where zombies were wandering around in the water, but that was pretty much it. This also feels fairly open, like there's going to potentially be a big zombie experience or encounter here, or that there should be a big zombie encounter here. Doesn't seem like there actually is anything going on. Let's see if this whole lake starts on fire. I don't see any reason why it would, but so kind of a big open area where there should have been more big open areas, but no encounter happening there. Feels like there should have been a scripted encounter, and if this game had boss fights, that would have been probably a interesting place to throw out some kind of aquatic mutated zombie. They could dive under the water and appear in a few different places. Maybe. Yeah.
Reloading.
Where are zombies coming from? If there were 4 competent players here, every time there would be an attack like this, interesting how the fire does not
Weapons over here.
start the fire over, does not explode the barrels. Yeah, each of these players could have a Molotov or a pipe bomb. Then, as a team, you would have more than enough to defend most locations by throwing one Molotov and one pipe bomb in every encounter that occurs. Like, particularly when there's almost always a Molotov and pipe bomb that shows up anyways. Here we have the soft drink.
Weapons here.
The soft drink models, vending machine models again. So it feels like this scenario has figured out how to optimize the 3D models and textures with the video RAM budget. That, or this just came out as the last part of their creation, so they didn't care if it ran poorly on weak systems, because nobody's gonna really read reviews of like the performance of a game by the time the DLC comes out.
Weapons over here.
Oh, I thought there was another bomb, but whatever. Yeah, the only reward you ever get for looking around is you might convince a few more zombies to attack you. I feel like one of our guys is missing. He was for a while there. I guess he...
Great.
And see, these flares would have been nice if they were used a lot more in the game. You ever just walked all the way around? No. Yeah. These flares could have been used as light sources. There could have been flares left all over the place. I'm not sure these tanker trucks existed in the previous scenarios. So what I would fully expect to see is that anything like flares and exploding barrels and tanker trucks, all of those should be fairly prevalent in Left 4 Dead 2. I don't know if that's going to significantly change how Left 4 Dead plays, however. It'll be very interesting to see if I can even get an online game going, and if I do manage to get an online game going, how well I could keep up with the other players. And in an attempt to save time, I'll probably try to play a versus game, which,
Pills here.
by playing a versus game, we'll be able to show off that section, and I'll also show off my incompetence. Probably get kicked.
Look at this.
I click the left stick to scream for help a lot, and it doesn't actually play a sound effect. Which, that's a little weird,
Reloading.
too. This feels like this would have led somewhere. I wouldn't be upset if this turned out to be like what was at one point going to be the hub world of the entire gameplay.
Here's a bug. Reloading. Reloading.
This is totally the wrong gun. This would have been a nice shooting gallery sequence. If this game had any shooting gallery sequences. Okay, we have like a boomer that is... Yeah, and that's just so torn up you can't even see what it is if it was supposed to be anything. You can jump up here, but not going to be able to jump up there. And that hurt me, I think, way more than I thought it was going to. Are we actually going through the water here? Seems like we may be. Let's see. Can't jump up on these, so the only way up is here. Meanwhile, what are they finding?
We got weapons over here.
More weapons, more bullets. Another gun. A gasoline tank. So I guess we are going this direction. There you go.
Over the ship.
You can see how the pathfinding here is very linear. And this is where the game was hiding its secrets as far as how the pathfinding algorithms are not very good.
Reloading.
And these are pathfinding algorithms are things that have been worked on since the days of real-time strategy games, StarCraft, Command and Conquer, things like that. So while they haven't been perfected by any means, this is unimpressive. I don't know what this is supposed to be. The Saint Lieutenant Deanne. Which isn't that like a Forrest Gump reference? Yeah, best I can figure is that this is supposed to be some kind of lock or dry dock. Probably a dry dock to have the ships be set aground, although I don't know why you would want a ship to be set aground usually.
Hunter's got Francis.
Oops. I'm damaging myself a lot. I don't think we saw too many uses of this electrical stuff either. Like You're not doing anything with them, but it would have made sense that you could have shot them and they would have exploded shots out. Sparks out, if not flame. I don't know why this game is offering so many guns when you have infinite ammo. Unless there is a scenario where interesting that that shows bullet damage. Right, so we are here. Yeah, there's nothing behind there. Be weird if there was something there, because there's been no secrets in the game. Yeah, unless the survival mode gave you a limited number of bullets to start with and a really scripted the amount of attacks and made it more like a horror Resident Evil type game, there's no reason for there to be so many handguns. Except for if you were playing this in multiplayer mode and you dropped in and just started playing at that one respawn closet. Which at that level, instead of just having more guns all over the place, why don't they just have a scripted thing where you start with 2 guns after a certain point in every level? Yeah, even though they're doing a lot better with this level design, in my opinion, and maybe this has more to do with me just taking a break, and maybe this really is just the kind of game that does not work in one sitting. But if that's the case, then you've got a big problem, because this is a game that's literally designed to be played in one sitting. Alright.
Rifle, nice.
Well, I got an achievement for that. So we managed to fight the witch and kill her before she hurt anybody.
Grabbing a pipe bomb.
Hunters really could just be dogs. They pounce like that. We still get the occasional weird sound effect that doesn't seem to be really connected to any character. A weird, just laughing sound effect. Since this is a multiplayer game, you have to compromise again, and I've tried not to use that phrase too much, although I have used it a lot when describing this game. But if this was a single player game and you could play as different characters, or you could have multiple copies of the same kind of characters, you would kind of expect them to have different abilities. Zoe to be a bit faster, Bill to be a little bit tougher. Let's see, Francis to be the hulking brute that could melee a little bit better. Lewis could be the average guy. But you don't have that.
Reloading.
And plenty of multiplayer games have had that, where you can only play as one of each character, but each character plays slightly different. That's another example of a case where they could have tried to accommodate people with different play styles instead of basically saying, no, everybody has to play the same way, but we'll throw you a bone and give you a different skin for your characters, just in case you don't want to play as a woman. Or for the 1/4 of the audience that does want to play as a woman, we've thrown you a bone and given you a single character in Zoe.
Hunter's got Bill. Bill's here. Ammo here.
Game seems to be very happy to give you pills, not as happy to give you actual health kits. Interesting how we saw the zombie lay down. That's probably a memory reduction mechanic, or compromise. Again, I guess you'd describe it as that, where they have zombies that are not being shot at or not anywhere near the action, just sit down. I wouldn't be surprised if they lie down and eventually despawn completely. I threw that grenade in the exact opposite direction of where I should have thrown it. Alright, so now we're in some kind of sand pit or something.
Anyone want to guess what I'm hating right now?
And here we have so were the zombies coming and were they running quietly? And that scared the birds? Or did we scare the birds and that brought the zombies? I would have been fine if they had established the idea that the sound of the crows call the zombies. I'd be fine if they were zombie crows or zombie worms in that are controlling the brains of the crows. So it seems like it's fairly obvious they want us to go that way. So, in an effort to experience more of the game, let's not do that. Although this is an incredibly slow section, and this really does highlight why most games don't have giant climbs. And this water seems like you would just die if you fell into it. Alright, well, let's get up here. Come on, guys, so we can run here. And you know this is called the sacrifice, so at any point that you're going to have a scenario where somebody has to sacrifice themselves, and this looks like it's as good of a place as any. Glitchy ladder. Bill, I think, just jumped down or spawned in a lower location. And again, just a lot of guns. Lots and lots of guns. Doors that don't open.
We got weapons over here.
Little dark corners so that they procedurally spawn more enemies without them having to actually script spawnable areas.
Bill's
Run to
here.
the bow.
So I think we are jumping down. From the looks of it, that's what we're doing, is we're jumping down. And seems like they've even thrown you a bone as far as making a specific area where you can just walk down in case you want to come back up, or in case you were afraid that the fall might kill you. Because in all fairness, there are quite a few places where the fall does seem to kill you. Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to go here and in that direction though. Stay still.
Reloading.
Nearly every time I get into a darker area, I don't feel like the flashlight is doing a good enough job. And that's annoying. In general, dark areas in games are almost always annoying. Alright, so are these guys just gonna come? So it seems like this whole area was just a punishment area in case you fell, and then it pushes you this direction in case you don't realize it, and then you have this flare that pushes you this way in case you don't recognize it to jump this way. Now we are on what looks like a lock bridge or something, a land bridge. And then that's seemingly bringing us back to the city sections and away from the boat sections. And these two sections have been
Up that fence.
no, the other one's about to explode. Up a fence.
Reloading.
You can't go up and over a fence. But this is like a respawn area too, so... Oh, you go this way, over the fence. That So I was at like 2 health there, and I was healed up to 80 when I took pills right before. So maybe there is some effect of taking pills that it is helpful when you're getting healed. So yeah, maybe you should take pills right before somebody heals you. Of course, that would...
Knock it off.
Oops. I don't know what button I was supposed to hit there. lot of bookcases in closeted areas. That's the next place that we're supposed to go. So I want to just check out this area. Ah, yeah, it's the X button, not the left trigger or the right trigger. Alright. Well, we're gonna run into a smoker at this rate, so should try and run and avoid that. Not doing particularly well. There you go, we'll try that. You think everybody's in?
Ready for this?
Can you lock that door?
Shit, that was all right.
So chapter 3 is the port finale, and that might mean that there's several other sections. Yeah, you have a vending machine. For a second there, I thought that was a deep fryer.
That's the spirit, Lewis.
I mean, I'd like
You
to
only
hear your
get
reasons
bullets.
why Lewis isn't some sort of lunatic. For all we know, he's a serial killer.
Hey, Francis, I got a good feeling about wearing your skin as a pretty dress.
See? I'm serious. Given, you know, current goddamn events, that's not optimism. It's mental illness.
Interesting. See, here's an example of what could have been with zombies crawling through the roof and crashing through it. You could have had lots of scenarios like this. Why is there a power cord coming up and down to the soda machine? I guess it's a refrigerator of some sort if you don't have a crowbar to pry the thing open. So it'd give you some refrigerated drinks if you had money. It'd be kind of crazy to be hoarding a lot of cash or a lot of change. And see, we've got some story there where
Come on,
Francis
let's do
and
it.
Lewis are potentially having a little bit of a joking conflict here. So maybe that sets up enough of a interaction that we're trying to feel like any of these people could sacrifice themselves, and it would be a very noble sacrifice because the group is starting to fall apart, whereas before in every other scenario the group has been rock solid because they've not had any characters at all. So no character development means no conflict, means no personalities. And this door is just built into this wall in a ridiculous way. Like, who would have built these doors is the real question. These should look way more natural. Because this is ridiculous. Well, I am going to warn that there is a small chance, since I'm working on other things on my computer, that this might crash. So if I have to load back into this scenario, not much would change. My health might be a little bit lower. My score wouldn't be lost, of course, but otherwise, same. It would be the same old, same old. Same is true for the multiplayer. If you dropped in and then dropped out. I definitely remember when I was playing this game on multiplayer, it often was a struggle to keep myself from getting kicked or disconnecting. I mean, this was not the heyday of having high-speed internet or anything. This would have been, maybe you had a megabit down, like not really major internet speeds. So yeah, I definitely remember there were some scenarios where I would have been able to get almost to the end or all the way to the end of the first section, and then people would leave or disconnect, and then I'd have to try and drop in on a second section. I don't even think there's a great system to do that. I think it may very well be 100% random. That would explain why some of the sections of this game feel brand new to me. Like, everything from the Sacrifice feels brand new. I may have just never played it at all. But yeah, the way the story or the non-story occurs in this game is odd, to say the least, and kind of random and sporadic and ADHD. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.